Over the last 15 years, I've been remodeling this house, and 10 of those years have been spent on YouTube helping teach you all how to do the same. I'm going to be showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly of all the projects that I've done over the last 10 years on this home, and show you how this home became a $1 million home, thanks to YouTube. I bought this home back in 2010 and it was the ugly duckling. It needed everything you could possibly imagine, and I have literally touched and remodeled every single inch of this home in some way. Back when I was 25 years old, I thought I was going to be in and out of this house within a year or two because I wanted to flip it. But of course, quickly figuring out how much everything costs in terms of trying to remodel it, but also how time consuming it is when you're just trying to remodel it on the weekends, added up significantly. And now I just don't want to leave, thanks to my beautiful wife and kids, along with the fact that my parents live so close by, and having grandparents close when you have young children is quite the blessing. When I bought this home back in 2010, I knew how to do some things myself, but I didn't know how to do everything. And that's where YouTube actually played a huge role in my life, because my dyslexic self all of a sudden found the love of learning in a video setting. And that truly started my journey of realizing that, oh, I love learning, I just don't love learning thanks to books. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I couldn't find a video on a specific subject, and I said to my girlfriend at the time, now wife, maybe I should do a YouTube video because YouTube's helped me so much, and I cannot find this video anywhere. That one video led to another, and all of a sudden I find myself 10 years on YouTube with over 250 DIY tutorial videos. And a large percentage of those videos are on my own home. One of the main questions I get asked all the time is, how is that project holding up? How is that project holding up? Well, guess what? This is going to be the video for you, because we're going to go through every single one of the videos that I've done on this home and truly see how each one is holding up over the years. Please stay till the end of this video, or at the very least, make sure you don't skip the ending, because we have some massive news that I can't wait to share with everyone that's going to completely change the trajectory of this channel. But till then, let's get right to the projects, and I have put all these projects in a playlist just so you can easily find every single one of them. In order to simplify the process of going through each one, we're going to start with all the exterior projects first. And we might as well start off with my front steps. These concrete steps have seen certainly better days, which is why I wanted to fix them up immediately the moment I saw them. Now, I did debate on jackhammering out this entire slab first, but reconsidered and decided I wanted to try and paint them and then apply a unique stencil to them. Well, that certainly did look good for a more surprising time than you might think. It lasted beautiful for months, but then the years went by and all of a sudden that paint started degrading, which is why I brought out my grinder again, but instead of applying another paint, I decided to apply veneered brick. Now, this brick does match, or at least very closely match, the brick that's on the front of my house now, and it just was a beautiful aesthetic, but also much, much more durable than a traditional paint. I took a number of stabs at this one, and most of them did not wear or look great over time. However, this system right here, I actually really like how this turned out. Now, it still does get dirty. As you can see, there's white down there, but you just pressure wash that off once a year and it still looks extremely good. If all of a sudden I had to repaint it and make it more vibrant again, I still easily could, but it's still extremely durable on the top here because of this veneered brick, which also coincidentally somewhat matches our veneered stone in our house, which is a nice complement between the two. So this system, other than the white, oh well, that's okay. But in the end, I really love how this turned out. So this gets an A minus. A minus. In BYOT number 89, I installed this pre-manufactured steel railing right outside my front door. Now, the reason why I truly love this project is the reason why I had to install it, or the reason why I was told to install it. And that's because our beautiful firstborn baby girl was born and my wife wanted an exterior railing. So what did I do? I installed one for her. This outdoor handrail I barely use, but it means a lot to me because this reminds me every single day when I walk past it. It reminds me of what we went through during COVID, but also the reason why I put this in the first place. It's because my wife, who was pregnant at the time, wanted a handrail outside, and therefore I got it installed for her, and it means a lot. It's the first video that we introduced our baby girl Isla to /in, and this little handrail, even though it's small, it's mighty thanks to what it means. So still looks beautiful, still not going anywhere. So it's a great one. Just barely use it. That one gets an A because of Isla. In BYOT number 76, I had the crazy idea of removing my normal water spigot to this really unique higher-end frost-proof system by Aqua. It was an extremely simple install, especially with the fact that the backside of this wall was going directly into my garage, and I had full access of those walls as well, so I didn't have to go through any drywall in order to plumb this product correctly. A bit of a gimmick system, but doesn't mean that gimmicks don't work, because this thing is held up over the years beautifully, and I still use this system constantly. What's underneath all these hoses is our Aqua water hose bib. Now this thing I actually have really liked over the years. You don't ever have to worry about it freezing when it's cold out during the winter months, and it's really easy to use. The only thing is I really wish that we did something different with the hose arrangement here. Aqua did just come out with a new system for hoses, which I inevitably could install here, but which basically just make it super inviting and way more streamlined in terms of how you use a whole hose versus the coiled mess that this is. So because of that, I still gave this one a B, just got to figure out what the mess is over here. Within the first 5 years of owning this home, I did a lot of painting. All the interior walls, including the exterior ones as well, were fully done by yours truly. But I wasn't a content creator at that point, which is why the very first exterior painting project on this channel was our front door. Now I went with a vibrant red, which is still on the front of our house to this day, which just complements the blue and white around the house as well. This was basically one of the first doors I've ever painted, and it was actually a fun learning experience, but it's held up extremely well. I didn't even use a great paint. I didn't use a great paint sprayer, but yet it still feels so smooth, which I absolutely love that this door still looks this good. The only thing that I really don't like about it is that we did recently install a new lock, and the lock itself is a different shape, and therefore you can see the marks that the other door left, and because that paint is long gone by now, I have not actually tried to match this with anything. So I'm sure I could figure out a way to at least get somewhat close to that color or just repaint the door red. But now that we know a lot more about painting, paint this door much, much easier than we did in the past. So all things considered, this one is B+. Now in this home, I've done a tremendous amount of woodworking projects, but I'm really not going to show many of the woodworking projects if it doesn't have anything to do with the house itself. With that being said, one that I did want to mention was one of the very first woodworking projects that I took on this home that is still standing to this day. It's my DIY hanging planter made up of succulents, masonry jars, old doorknobs, some 2x6 pieces of wood, and some threaded rod. That's basically it. This planter was one of the very first woodworking projects and projects just in general on my YouTube channel, and it's still here after 10 years, and I love it. I really do love the look of it. It's industrial, it's unique, it's different. The one thing I highly suggest, if you ever try and do this yourself, highly suggest do not use real plants and do not put soil in these cups, because it just turns into a huge mess, nightmare. Things are all of a sudden growing but then dying because you might forget to water them, or they're not getting the appropriate soil sediment that they need to survive. So even the plants that we put in there that should have lasted a while just didn't. So what we did, removed all the soil, put in some rock and some fake plants, still get the overall aesthetic look, but just, it's beautiful, nice, year round, without any worry or need. So that one gets a B+. At some point during the holiday season, I wanted to install permanent Christmas lights. I really thought this is going to be a game changer, which in all honesty, it was. It was so nice to put up these Christmas lights for one time, and then all I had to do every single season or anytime I wanted to get festive around different holidays is just turn them on with no need to get up on the roof at all. Now, I did have to drill into my metal drip edge flashing, but because there was a gasket built into their system, I had no issue or worry with water intrusion behind our flashing. But the real question is, how have these held up over time since I originally installed these back in 2019? As you can see, they still work after years. Now, I'm sure they've seen better days because they have been through the ringer on hot and cold climates, but inevitably they still all function. Well, not all of them. There are a couple of them that have gone out, but it still works. I love the fact that all I have to do is plug it in and never have to worry about getting up on the roof for Christmas lights, which is amazing. As well as I turn it on when it's a festive holiday as well, which is just fun. But for that, I give it a B+. B+. In my Christmas light video, many people commented on the fact that I had a large hole in one of my fascia boards. Everyone thought that this was caused due to moisture, but it's not. It was because there was a large branch hitting the side of my house repeatedly for years on end, many years before I even owned it, and therefore I cut it down and finally decided to repair it after everyone started commenting on, hey Brent, why do you have this huge hole in the side of your fascia? So what did I do? I didn't replace the board, I just filled it with a high-end wood filler. This probably made people even more furious at me because why would you just repair it? Why wouldn't you just place a brand new piece of wood there? Which is a valid question, but I wanted to try out a new technique with this wood putty that I had recently learned about, and also trying to match up 1950s wood grain that I could find here would be a little bit more challenging as well. That simple little improvement and repair on my roof fascia board has garnered millions of views, but I know not everyone likes it. However, it really has stood the test of time. There's no issues whatsoever with it. It's still as solid as can be. I've never had any issues with that section after I made the repair. So the repair itself is quite astonishingly well produced and can hold up for years on end in the elements. Obviously, it's not the best looking repair, so eventually I might just replace that whole board altogether and replace it with a brand new one that matches the existing fascia. But for now, it works, it does its job, and for that, I give it a B. Prior to making videos on YouTube, I did have an asphalt driveway done professionally by a quality crew. But years later, I found myself wondering maybe I should seal my asphalt driveway since it's looking a bit rough, which is exactly what I did. I swear I wasn't even going to film this project because I felt there was plenty of other videos on YouTube that addressed this same need, and it was simple enough that people could find their own video. Luckily for all of us, I did film this project. However, plenty of people thought that the sealing aspect would just degrade heavily and chip up over time. This was BYOT number 33, so 9 years later, let's see how it looks. Now for the longest time, this driveway was my most popular video on YouTube. Millions of views. It was just a simple driveway sealing video. Now, my driveway has seen better days, but that sealant really did a masterful job at protecting my asphalt for long periods of time, and I've put this driveway through the ringer. Zero peeling whatsoever that I've seen throughout this entire period. It's just not gonna last forever. You should be applying it once every few years, obviously. But as of right now, it's looked better, but the product itself and the video itself did masterfully well. And I'm happy with how I applied it and the end all be all result. So with that, I'll give it a B+. For BYOT number 29, I did a DIY retaining wall restoration because I had all these large retaining walls where you just couldn't see them because of all the foliage and these trees that were completely taking up one side of our front yard. This was one of the very few projects that my wife teamed up with me on and helped me, but that certainly was short-lived but always appreciated. We gutted the space, removed all the stumps in some precarious situations, but then rebuilt the retaining wall with some concrete and added rock, along with some mighty fine smoke bushes at a certain point. The cleanup of this retaining wall actually has been a tremendous benefit to this entire yard and the visual element. And it might not look like it now because we're basically the first day of spring right now, so nothing is blooming, but all of these bushes right here, all these plants will be vibrant in a matter of a couple of months, and it's gonna be absolutely gorgeous. I really like how this one turned out. I know it's a unique one because it's this solid quality real stone retaining wall, which doesn't always appeal to everyone, but for the purposes of this area, perfect. I give this one a B+. On BYOT number 91, I showed everyone how to install synthetic grass, or in other terms, artificial grass. Now this truly was one of the hardest projects that I ever took on myself because physically it is very demanding to try and remove so much sod, but yet trying to then dispose of the sod, then getting everything leveled, then bringing in the crushed rock, then compacting the rock, then bringing in these large massive rolls of turf, which was not easy to roll around, then cut and make sure everything lines up appropriately when we get to this final stage. The process of knowing what to do was simple, but the demand on your body, especially when you're doing it by yourself, or in some cases with my dad, it was a large, arduous task, but as you can see, it turned out quite beautifully. When it comes to the turf in the yard, it's held up incredibly well. It's beautiful year-round. I don't have to do anything to it. Kona loves being out here. Kids like being out here, so on and so forth. So the aspect of installation on this one, way bigger pain in the butt than I ever thought I was going to. There was a lot of labor-intensive aspects of installing this, but it certainly looks beautiful. A lot of people gave me a lot of crap for the fact that I was using turf just because it's not a natural product, it's gonna ruin the earth and so forth, and I do understand that element, which is why I don't know if I would use a turf install in the future on my own home, maybe in a small area, but seemingly it's a really nice opportunity to use a system like this where you really don't have to do anything to it and your house looks beautiful, but be conscious of the environment. So keep that in mind on your projects. I do, because I want to make sure I'm benefiting not only you, the audience, but also the earth as well when I can. What do you think, Conan? Do you like it? You still like it, right? Yeah, I know. He's so gray. You know, when he was a baby, he did not look this gray when we got him 9 years ago almost. Yeah, but Kona gives this an A. I give it a B+. So, B+. I'm going to combine projects number 9 and 10 because they're basically in the same exact area, and that's how I showed everyone how to install this brick walkway that was more of an accent around my concrete slab. But I installed these bricks with concrete, which apparently people had an issue with. I also accented them nicely with these dwarf boxwoods on the side, along with some decorative drainage rock. All in all, this was actually quite an easy project to take on and really added some contrast to the front of the house. Our dwarf boxwoods have actually stayed quite dwarfish. It is very nice that they have stayed basically the same exact size throughout all of these years, and it really has complemented the entrance of the home, I would say. I'm sure we could have done something a little bit different if I had done this again in the future, but I really do like the aesthetic look. The brick, everyone thought that this brick was going to degrade over time because I used concrete on the base to settle them. None of these bricks have moved an inch whatsoever, and none of them have degraded over time. They certainly don't look as colorfully red and beautiful as they once were, but a little bit of pressure washing, they look brand new again, and I really like how this entryway turned out in comparison to what it was originally. This home was originally built in the 1950s and it had old galvanized piping. I removed all of it on the inside of the home. However, there is one 20-foot stretch from the front of our house to the meter box at the street, and there was a leak somewhere there. I was getting priced out and gouged on quotes, and therefore I decided to do it myself, and glad I did. On this project, we dug a large 2-foot deep trench to get to the water line, as well as redirecting the water line down to the correct corner of the house. I repiped everything myself and double-checked to make sure there was no leaks at the end, and there certainly was not, so this was a surefire win, especially when considering I saved $8,000. You might be remembering this water main right here, and that's because I dug a trench all the way from this water main to the side of my house. And that's because we had a leak, unfortunately, and I was getting quotes for $8,000 to dig up this small little trench and repipe this. Did it myself. It was definitely nerve-wracking, but it all worked out beautifully. No leaks whatsoever over that time period, and it saved me a whole lot of money. So this one, I give an A because I did it myself and I saved thousands of dollars doing it. Just make sure that if you're in a cold climate that you bury that line deep enough so it's below the frost line. Very important. On BYOT number 184, I decided to completely remove mine and my neighbor's mailboxes and install a brand new one. Now, this old mailbox certainly was an eyesore from my perspective, and I'm sure my neighbors were actually a bit perturbed over the fact that I just asked them one day, hey, can I remove our mailbox? And they all said yes. And in order to make it easy on all my neighbors to say yes, I decided to tell them that, hey, I'm going to do this all for free and not charge you at all. I just want to revamp our entire look. So I did this all out of my own pocket, which I'm really glad I actually did because I love the look and I didn't ask for anyone's thoughts on how it should look. I just went with it, and hopefully and luckily for me, they all liked it. Our beautiful mailboxes probably do need a little bit of a pressure washing, but my goodness, I still really like the overall aesthetic. What I really want to do, hopefully in the near future, is instead of using these stupid little marks on the boxes themselves, to put some type of nice decorative metal numbers at the base here. And that way it looks a lot more professional versus someone just drawing on the boxes. So keep that in mind on your project. But on this one, it worked out beautifully. On BYOT number 99, I showed you how to install thin brick veneer on an exterior surface. And this is truly one of my favorite projects that I've ever done on my entire house. It adds so much amazing character to the house, but it was a considerable amount of work because we had to not only remove the existing siding, but then also install some Tyvek house wrap, some cement board, then red guard, then our brick, and then grouting all that brick, which took a considerable amount of time. All worth it in the end from my perspective, but just know that if this is on your bucket list of projects to do, it's going to take some patience. Now our veneered stone over here, I really do like how this turned out. It was a lot of work to do, certainly, but my goodness, it really did add a whole lot of character to this house. And I don't know, it's held up really well over the years. Like, I don't see any degrading whatsoever in terms of the stonework, or have never had any issues with water precipitation or water intrusion issues in terms of where I placed it. So that's a beautiful win right there. Definitely give this one an A-. On a more recent project on BYOT number 245 and 246, I completely transformed this small retaining wall into something much more in line with the style of the house. Now this was quite a bit of work just because I had to remove these massive large existing rocks, but I was able to place those on the other side of the retaining wall in our driveway, and then brought in flat face concrete retaining wall blocks. Quickly after I built it, I did decide to go over the flat face with a veneered brick that matches the house, which I really do think it complements the space, but I had to finagle a few things along the way. Now this retaining wall, obviously a very recent project that I took on, but I certainly do like how it turned out. I know a lot of people gave me grief on the metal trim pieces that I used here, just to try and make sure that any moisture that hits this peels away from the retaining wall and doesn't get sucked back because of the retaining wall blocks that I used. That was the unfortunate nature of what this was, and I had to do it, but in hindsight, I could probably have gotten away with not using the metal. Probably would have given me a better look to coincide nicely with the house, but it still works, still looks good. Definitely an improvement, but I probably would have done things a little bit differently with the metal. So for that, I give it a B. On BYOT number 123, I made this really cool DIY raised garden bed. Now this was made up of steel angle metal, stainless steel screws, and some cedar fence boards, and that's basically it, which is why it was such a nice, friendly DIY project. I of course dressed it up with plenty of soil and flowers, but how has it held up over time? Through the course of what I do for a living, I tend not to be gentle sometimes, and unfortunately, especially with all of the heavy equipment that I've had running back and forth on this side of this yard, I inevitably hit this planter box at a certain point. It has looked and has seen better days, and I could easily repair this with these boards, so I will certainly be keeping that in mind in the future, but just know that this one is part of the ugly pile. But it worked for a considerable amount of time. So let's give this one a C. Yeah, C. These are the machines that destroyed our planter box, but for good reason, since I was redoing this entire driveway in BYOT number 238. Now, in past years, I installed this grid system on a gravel driveway, but I wanted to use it on a grass driveway because it's designed for that as well, in order for you to park trailers and large vehicles without disturbing your soil. This was an extreme amount of work, but renting a skid steer made it a whole lot easier on my back, and having a helpful hand with my daughter made quick work of the project, of course. But how did our grass grow after everything was seeded? This is what it looked like a couple months after I applied the grass seed, and this is what it looks like now. The grass here looks good, looks decent. The driveway itself has worked out perfectly. I've driven on this numerous times, no issues whatsoever there. And that was the main point of the driveway protection that's buried underneath our grass. The problem is that I'm not a very good person when it comes to landscaping and making sure that grass stays healthy and clean and beautiful in the grand scheme of things. So I will certainly be somewhat reseeding this area at the beginning of spring, which is right around the corner. And yeah, we'll do that. We'll make sure it still looks good, but it has functioned quite beautifully and has been really nice to add. So with that in mind, B. me. In BYOT number 122, I came out like Oscar the Grouch and made this very DIY friendly trash can screen in garbage enclosure space. Now all this was a concrete pad, a couple galvanized brackets, 4x4 posts, and cedar fence boards. Very fun and easy one-day build, which is really nice, but how did it turn out over the years? Now because our grass actually elevated in height, we had to change the dimensions of our concrete pad for our recycling bins and garbage bins. That's why I had to remove this, but I removed this because I had to redo the concrete, but I just haven't installed it again. The concrete pad itself and this have actually held up quite nicely over the years, just I need to reinstall this. With that said, I would have probably went with a system where I installed the anchor bolts first into the wet cement and let them embed perfectly, and versus what I did, which was drill out holes in the concrete and put concrete anchor bolts in. It's just a little bit more sturdy, especially when you're flapping in the wind for a considerable amount of time, for years. So it tends to get a little bit loose, but other than that, it's worked beautifully. Oh, so with that in mind, B. In terms of house design, this daylight basement really is nice in terms of temperature, but it is horrible when considering the amount of water that goes down into this drain, and I need to figure out how this water gets away from the house. Now, I've done numerous scenarios on trying to fix this problem so my garage doesn't flood, and one of the solutions that I came up with at a very early stage was, how about install a large catch basin at the side of the house and then install a pump system to pump up all the water towards the street. This was featured in BYOT number 35, and this sump pump really did work for probably a year, but after that, there's just so many issues with clogs, especially when considering I had the downspout connected to this system as well. Maybe if I installed a better pump, this would have worked out better, but in this scenario, it didn't. So, some of you might remember this guy. This is where I place a sump pump, and all the water that goes down our driveway goes into this, but also all the rain that goes out of our gutter goes into this as well. And then I put a pump and pumped it all the way up to the street. Now, I thought this was gonna work. I thought it was gonna be a perfect idea, magical, great concept. Didn't work out. It clogged all the time. It's unfortunately clogged in multiple different directions, and then there was a number of other issues along the way. So this one, unfortunately, I have to give myself an F just because it doesn't work. It doesn't work the way I intended it to, especially long term. It might have worked for, the first year, but after that, we just had so many issues with it, so F. It's okay. Luckily for all of us, we can transition this F into an A because down the line, I just got sick and tired of this system not working, so I hired a professional crew to come in and install a sump pump system that is in my home to make sure that we don't have water intrusion issues moving forward. This was featured in BYOT 207, and this wasn't the end-all be-all in terms of salvaging any of the water intrusion issues through the front of my house in the garage, but it did make sure that any type of water table issues where we were having, where water was coming through the concrete slab in the downstairs of our house, that was a huge issue a number of times over the last 15 years, and in order to make sure that that was completely solved, this was the perfect solution. I did get my hands dirty on this one since I helped trench out a line towards the back of the house, but that was it. Now this is one of the few projects that I didn't take on personally myself. I had this done by a professional crew, which did an immaculate job of digging out a nice little a hole inside of the house in the garage, putting proper sump pump in along with drainage, which drains out over here and into the backyard. Now this system, in all honesty, I don't know how well it worked just because I've only had it for a couple seasons. All I know is that I've never had any water intrusion issues coming through the concrete slab that I had previously in past years with heavy rain. We didn't really have tons and tons of rain the last couple of years in comparison to previous years, so I can't say it's been to the ultimate test, but it certainly has come on when the water table rises, and that means that it is working properly thus far. So far, A. No matter what climate you're in, you're most likely going to have to eventually repaint your house. And on BYOT number 135, that's exactly what I did for the south side of my house. I may live in Seattle, but it still does get quite hot in the summer months, and therefore the south side of my house gets blasted with the heat every single year. I showed the entire process of how to strip, prime, fill, and of course, paint your house properly in order for that paint to last for years to come. The proper steps to repaint your house are quite straightforward. However, they're very time consuming and tedious anytime you're involving paint. Especially when considering this is a 2-story house, and anytime you're on tall ladders, it just gets a little bit more sketchy, along with more time consuming since you have to reposition yourself constantly. This is the south side of my home, and this side, even in Seattle, gets blasted with the heat, especially during the summer months, obviously. And the paint itself has held up beautifully. I showcased how to completely paint a home and prep a home prior to paint, and all the paint that I had applied to this home is still on here. It's still looking good. It's only been a couple of years since I did that, so we'll see how it does and how it holds up over time, but I did do and apply a really high quality paint, so I'm hoping it lasts for a while. The only thing is that I did accidentally puncture my house with a large piece of equipment that I do need to repair this piece, but other than that, it's good. It's not gonna be perfect just because this is very old 1950s siding, so it's never gonna look brand new, but for what it is, it's done really well, and I like the project. With that, a B. In BYOT number 32, I built a gate. And not just any gate, this was a massive double gate because I did want to have access to my backyard with my truck, and in order to do so, I had to make sure that this gate was able to open completely. I built a large 2x6 framework of pressure-treated lumber, then installed some heavy-duty hinges on one side with a spring roller on the other, and after I put the cedar fence boards right on top to match my existing fence, we gave it a test and it actually worked out quite beautifully. This is our beautiful double gate that I built, and this thing has been through the ringer. Now, it still functions beautifully. As you can see, I can move it all the way over. It is a little bumpy. Move it all the way over, get my truck through if need be, which I have needed it in the multiple times, but it works out quite perfectly. Very nice to easily access the backyard with a wide open space, especially when you're trying to move heavy equipment around. The only problem, and I do really mean only problem, is that I have hit this thing a couple of different times with heavy equipment, and it has jostled the system a bit to the point where it doesn't close perfectly. You know, I'm sure I could fix that, but with that said, we could have probably beefed it up a little bit here and there. With what it is and how it functions, it works quite well, but we're a little off. That's okay. B+. With a pattern of water intrusion issues on this home, BYOT number 212 was all about how to install a dry well drainage system in my backyard because of all the water that goes into my driveway. Therefore, I rented a mini excavator to make the job a whole lot easier because we had to not only remove a lot of soil, but also add 12,000 pounds of drainage rock alongside with 3 50-gallon dry wells. This is a whole lot of work just to make sure that your house doesn't flood, but certainly something that I felt I had to do to make sure that this flooding issue stopped for good. And if you're wondering how my double-gated fence got jacked up over the years, this is the culprit. Now, if you don't remember, there are 3 large 50-gallon tanks down that are buried here, along with yards of drainage rock. And that's because, again, I've had so many water intrusion issues on this house. I needed a way for water to truly drain away in here versus at the front of my house. Now, I have still had issues with drainage in the front of my house, but not really because of this. It's more because there's so much water coming down the front of our house that the driveway can't drain water to this point fast enough. And if that's the case, then the front still can flood. Now, it still works quite well, but unfortunately it doesn't solve all of my issues in the front of my driveway. With that being said, I'd still give this one a B. In BYOT number 12, I produced one of the most popular videos on YouTube, which was just how to build a fence. This one specifically was a horizontal fence, and I removed the existing fence that was just about to fall over. In some cases, it already was falling over, and then worked with my neighbor to build a brand new fence out of pressure-treated posts and cedar fence boards. I did apply a top cap made out of a 2x6 pressure-treated lumber to make sure I had a nice finished off look, and I actually did a second video on this fence in BYOT number 159, which showed how to rejuvenate an old looking fence in just 3 easy steps. This is a early project on the channel, but was one of the projects that took off during COVID. It has been very nice to see a simple fence video get to 1 million views plus, and therefore I still love the look of this fence. Now, some people don't love it, that's totally fine, but personally for me, I love it. It's functional, it works, it was cheap to build. The only thing that I wish I did differently was the top cap, because it's pressure treated, it bends based upon the boards are warping over time. And it's only slight warps, I can see it right here. And because they're flat, that means water is basically settling on the top of these caps for longer periods of time, and therefore degrading them faster than below here. So keep that in mind. Not a big deal, still functions well, but maybe I would do some type of slight slant at the top here so water can drain off the tops naturally. With that being said, still love it, B+. Now, the largest, most extensive project that I have on my entire YouTube channel is actually a project that is in my backyard. And that's because I built this massive 12-foot by 12-foot outdoor shed, or in my purposes, an outdoor gym. This project was so big that I did 6 videos on it, because the first one was for my low profile deck, which was BYOT number 221, and then I built the shed right on top of it, which was between 239 and 243. I literally built this entire thing by myself to prove to myself that I could do it, but also to you, the audience, to know that you can do a large, sizable build like this by yourself. Just know it's going to take a lot of time and energy to do so, as well as some skill and know-how. We went over framing, sheathing, siding, doors, roofing, painting, and everything in between, and I'm still waiting on fully appreciating this build this summer. Now, my beautiful home gym slash shed, whatever you want to call it, this thing is amazing. I love the functionality of this. I love having my weights around and my rowing machine and so forth. The door still functions beautifully. And I have a nice little space. Now, I haven't filled this space the way I wanted to as of yet. That will be coming, but as of right now, it still works and it's still beautiful. The only things that I would do differently here is, one, the mats. Were designed to be home gym mats, but they reek. They still haven't officially finally off gas completely, and that drives me crazy because every single time I use this space, I have to air it out, and it's still winter. So, or at least we're toward the tail end of winter. So definitely different mats. And this channel right here for the door. Now there's this exterior channel, and even if it is dirty, the door will still open, but a lot of gunk gets stuck in this little segment right here. With that said, pretty simple, pretty things that we can anticipate and account for. The vast majority of the build, beautiful, still looks great. I love it. I still give this one a B+. For BYOT number 231, I had an underside deck that looked like this, and I wanted to have some type of dry space underneath it, so I did a very DIY-friendly drainage system out of pressure-treated lumber and some corrugated plastic roofing material. This saved me thousands on a traditional system, but was it worth it? Now this one hurts. I really thought this was going to work out beautifully, and in all honesty, it does still work. It still functions. It just doesn't function as well as I would hope. The real issue with this one is that I only had 3 segments of fasteners. I should have probably in this span had at least 5, so 1 here and 1 between that segment, and that would have just made sure the drainage slope was appropriate. With this, we have a little bit of water just coming down and resting in these cavities and is not being able to drain all the way. For the most part, this area stays dry, but there are a few areas where all of a sudden there's buildup and all of a sudden it comes shooting out. Over, let's see here. Shot out right there earlier, but there's a few unusual segments on this one. So with that being said, it doesn't function as perfect as I want it to. Still functions, but just not as good, so C-. For the next feature, I'm going to be talking about 3 different projects because it all culminated with 3 different items. The first one, which was BYOT 194, was a DIY deck patio with 0 fasteners needed, which was a really cool, slick system, installed extremely quickly and very DIY friendly. The next product in this feature was a DIY outdoor sofa that I personally built and have plans for. This one was featured in BYOT 132, which means that this thing's been in the elements for years. And the final one was a DIY metal fire pit that I built from scratch. This was featured in 217 and really made this whole space come to life in a more enjoyable way. For this one, I'm going to be talking about 3 different projects since it's basically a culmination of 3. We have the low profile deck over here, we have the nice benches that I made, but also the fire pit over here. Now, in terms of the low profile deck, pretty good. It's lasted. It's not very sturdy. Like, you don't walk on it and you feel like, oh yeah, this is a quality deck. But it still functions quite nicely. It obviously has a lot of things on it right now thanks to the tree above, but other than that, the deck has held up quite well. The benches, nicely designed. I mean, I tell you what, whoever designed these did a great job and has plans for them available on Etsy, so you should check it out. But they have actually done very well. They certainly have seen better days because they've been out in the elements for years now, but they've held up really well over that time. And the only thing I probably would have done differently is if I use these cushions, which are comfortable, but they're thick. So I probably would have decreased the leg height and kept these, or kept the leg height and slimmed down the cushions. So keep that in mind if you do design to or want to build that. As for the fire pit, it looks great, looks nice. We barely use it. I really was hoping to use it more often, but that has not been the case thus far. In the future, might be something to think about and we might do something different, but for now, we just haven't used it very much. Still, personally, I think it looks great, but it needs to be more functional from my perspective. So, B+, C+. What I should have done is done an area where it has completely covered this space. So all of this ridiculous, I don't even know what you call these, not pine needles, I don't know, it's whatever this tree dumps, and it certainly does dump. It's so annoying, and they are not comfortable on your feet. They actually are very uncomfortable on your feet. So that's unfortunate, but what I should have probably done in this area is built something where you have an enclosed space above so nothing drops down. You're actually fully comfortable out here. So maybe we'll build that in the future, but not right now. In BYOT number 225, 226, and 227, I built the ultimate treehouse or just play area for my kids, and it all started with the space right around this large tree. Now, I personally was thinking about attaching it to the tree itself, but I found it a little bit more problematic and wanted to make sure that I didn't hurt the tree in the grand scheme of things. So I decided to just build around it and have a unique spin on what a treehouse can be. What separates this treehouse from all the rest is that I used this metal bracket system specifically designed for geodesic dome builds. Now, this thing certainly wasn't easy to build, especially with the fact that I sided the entire thing with cedar shingles, but I really wanted to make sure that I had a show-stopping treehouse with skylights even built in. Now, my treehouse playground over here, I still love. I love to this day. It has been so much fun to see the kids actually play and utilize the space. Personally, the foundation on the framing has been amazing. I love how these railings turned out. They turned out so cool, especially with this product that was for the pergola that was here in years past, but I used it for the railing on this project, and I love the look. So keep that in mind on your project. It was really fun to see how this all came together. The actual dome treehouse, on the other hand, yeah, that's a unique story. Come over here. So as you come in here, unfortunately, over the last year, our plexiglass, yes, our plexiglass has broken, and it's because this tree drops massive pine cones, and it has not only with that, plus I'm assuming with all the weather, the plexiglass becomes weakened and it degrades over time. So I'm really gonna have to figure out a way to utilize those windows with a different type of material that's stronger, or use some type of a thicker material so it doesn't do that and now becomes just a mess on the floor. And it's not comfortable because, you know, it should have done better. But yeah, in terms of the deck itself and the railing, in terms of this guy, I still love the look of it, still functions nicely, but yeah, the skylight, I wish it did better, but that bumps it down to B-. We're going back to BYOT number 8, which is the reason why I became a content creator. For my backyard, and for a good reason, which I'll get into later down the road. But my backyard, when I first bought it, was 6-foot high sticker bushes all the way to the fence line. It was ridiculous, and I finally got to a point where I want a good quality backyard where I can actually enjoy and have fun in. So I did a complete restoration from weeds and dirt to full-on beautiful grass lawn. Now, this took a tremendous amount of work, and I basically did this entire project solo, which took a full week to do since I had to disperse 12 yards of soil by myself, along with all the steps along the way. We added lime, fertilizer, grass seed, and of course topped it off with some more soil after that. We watered it consistently for weeks, and eventually we had a beautiful grass lawn. The only problem is we got a dog, Kona. Yeah, we love him so much, but when we got him, we didn't know how vigorously he was going to be digging, and therefore he ripped out my entire, and I do mean entire, sprinkler system when I first installed it. Now, I did reinstall a brand new, beefier sprinkler system in BYOT number 195, but I wanted to start from scratch at a certain point, so I ripped up my entire grass again and installed sod in BYOT 220. Now, the sod certainly was a tremendous amount of work to do by yourself, but the Bobcat made it so much easier to remove all the existing grass and reinstall all the brand new was just some muscle memory and making sure that everything was lining up appropriately so we didn't have ugly seams when everything started seeding. I just needed to make sure that our sprinkler system was working, and with that, our beautiful grass was growing. But how does it look now? When it comes to grass, I am actually very good at growing grass and actually starting from seed. However, trying to keep grass beautiful year-round is a bit difficult for me. As you can see, the grass is still here. It still looks good, not great, but hopefully we can rejuvenate a few things along the way. And also, as you can see, our irrigation green system is still working as well. So that's a positive in our book. But I wanted to finish this whole recap on this grass in this yard because that's where it came from. That's where this channel started, is because this yard was the reason why I became a content creator. I couldn't find a video on a specific subject back in 2016, and that was how to grow grass and how to grow a lawn from the very beginning to weeds and dirt. And lo and behold, I made a video. It wasn't my first video, but it was certainly the one that got me thinking that I should be giving back to you, the community. So it all started here. For this grass, give it a B.
Over 8.5 years ago, we got our dog Kona, and because of that, I showed how to install an exterior door, but also how to install a doggy door alongside with it. Replacing a poorly designed exterior door from the 1950s with a proper insulated exterior door was extremely valuable to have, not only as an aesthetic look, but also insulating the house properly because that laundry room was freezing over the years. I do love seeing old videos of Kona just because he's such a cute puppy and he was so tiny, but he still needed a big dog door, which is what I was happy to give him in BYOT number 34.
The dog door and the door that we installed. Now, it has worked quite beautifully. The dog door itself has been very functionally sound. Kona, you want to go check out the dog door? No, he's a little busy right now. But the dog door certainly has done really well over the years. Very useful to have, especially when we have a large dog. Just unfortunately, the only thing I didn't think about but does come in handy is that I can put my arm through and just unlock the door from the inside. So if anyone actually did want to break into our house, they probably could on the back side there, unless I put the plastic gate on the back side so no one can get in, but that also means that Kona can't get out. But I'm not really worried about that since I have Kona, and he's a big dog and a scary dog for intruders. So beautiful, works functionally well, just security-wise, probably not the best, so a B.
As someone who has taken on hundreds of projects over the years, I just had so many miscellaneous items that were filling my entire garage. So much so that I just wanted to get rid of them, but I didn't want to get rid of them in the usual way, which is why I built a free shed out of them. Now I know technically it's not actually free because at some point I did purchase these materials, but at the time of building them, I didn't purchase a single thing to build it. All these items was just literally collecting dust in my garage or in my backyard, which is why I did this in BYOT number 200.
If you didn't know already, this is my free shed that I built out of just all miscellaneous materials that I had laying around in my garage. Now, I know technically that was not free because at a certain point I bought them, but at the time I did not pay for a single item. I just had this astronomical amount of waste in my garage that was taking up space, so I built a shed, and this shed has worked out quite nicely. So many miscellaneous things that I just don't need in my garage that I can put in here and save space. Win-win-win. Might be a little cozy in packed, but what are you going to ask for when it's free and well used? Yeah, it will definitely come in handy once we hit some spring and summertime. Yes. With all things considered, this is definitely an A. Yeah.
In BYOT number 195, I created this very unique rainwater harvesting unit with an electric pump built into it. Now I thought this was a really cool idea, and I still overall like the aesthetic look of this build. It's mainly because I had this unusually placed downspout right in the middle of our deck, and therefore trying to capture all that rainwater that's coming down into it and using it to water the plants on our deck, which my wife certainly wanted, so I figured this would give us an opportunity to solve multiple issues. In theory, of course.
What's in this box? I really don't want to know what's in that box, but it's a large pail of water that I'm sure looks absolutely disgusting because this was supposed to be my water collection system that came from the gutter. The problem is that it just didn't really function and work correctly. It got clogged all the time. It then all of a sudden ran out of water when my wife was trying to utilize it to planting or for watering the plants out here, which was the grand scheme of things for this unit, but it just never worked out well. The best use case for it was that you could put a cooler on top, but other than that, it was not useful, it was not good, it was just not functionally sound. But that's okay, you live and you learn. Give myself an F on this one.
What I would consider as one of the funnest projects on my entire house is my loft net. Now, I built this one in BYOT number 94, and I built a sliding gate for it on BYOT number 95. I just had this amazing envision of walking out off of our deck and enjoying a loft space where we could just relax and appreciate beautiful days in a massive hammock. In order to access this hammock, I did want to make sure that I not only had an easy way to open up into this space, but I also didn't want to screw up the overall design and aesthetic of our deck area, which is why I still used the existing railing system and made that into our sliding gate, with a few helpful add-ons, of course.
Now it comes time to our loft net. Oh, Kona loves the loft net. He does. He does. We haven't used it in a while, so it might get a little rough, but he loves the loft net. It's so much fun to have. The kids now love this thing. They're actually quite safe on it, although I do wish I put on maybe a better lock on this one, but I didn't have kids at the time, so didn't really worry about it at that point. But all things considered, this thing has done really well. I will eventually really want to put a projector on this wall so we can watch outdoor movies when the kids are a little bit older, but that'll just be super fun and enjoyable in the future. Also, this guy right here, my goodness, you can't get better than some simple ingenuity. And this sliding gate was so practical because I just had some galvanized piping, some galvanized end piping caps, and then with some eye screws, worked out beautifully with some casters on the bottom. That's all you needed for a very functionally useful aspect and system. I love it. That's why these ones get an A.
In BYOT number 171, I redid all of my wood soffits, and this was certainly an amazing transformation from what it was originally to what it is now, but it was a lot of work and such a pain to get into unique positions.
You didn't know that these are my eaves underneath my roof, and I had to refinish all of these. I do absolutely love how they turned out, but my goodness, it's such a pain in the butt. It's so difficult to try and get on the underside of this space and try and smooth out all these areas as well as just make it beautifully nice and pristine again. If I were to do it again, I'd probably just remove every single one of these boards, put it through a planer, and finish them on the ground, and then reinstall them. Yeah, that's what I would have done. I would do that. It'd be a better idea than trying to be in very precarious positions on a ladder with a sander, and everything's falling down in your face. So, grand scheme of things, if I were to do it again, I'd remove them, just refinish them on the ground. So, with that being said, C+.
In BYOT number 37, I installed an exterior stringlet system, but I installed it in a very unique way using galvanized piping. We've all seen your standard exterior string light application, but in order to make sure that I had lights around the entire perimeter of my deck, I had to get a little creative. Luckily, I thought outside of the box, and this system certainly worked out quite perfectly years ago.
And when it comes to our exterior lighting, I actually really love how I did this setup with the galvanized piping along with the stainless steel wire, and then attaching our lighting to the wire. The only thing that I would change here in this circumstance is the fact that these zip ties that I used were not exterior grade, the original ones. Some of them are falling down now, and I'm having to replace every single one with exterior zip ties, which are much less likely to degrade over time due to UV rays. So just keep that in mind on your project if you ever do this type of scenario. Other than that, it's good. B.
Now, I take great pride in the fact that 99% of the projects that I've taken on this channel, I've personally built and done myself. However, there are certainly projects that I don't want to personally take on myself, one being the fact that they're so large in scale, but two, I want the experts to do it themselves. Case in point, our roof. I brought out a professional team in BYOT number 237 to install a brand new roof on our house, but not just any roof. This was a roof that was made up of recycled tires. It seems crazy, I know, but this is one of the most durable roofs you can ever have.
Now this was our brand new roof that we recently installed last year, and I absolutely love it. This is made up of recycled tires, and I still love the look. It's durable. It's gonna last a very, very long time. The only thing that I did not enjoy about it was the fact that probably for a good 3 months, when you walked outside, it smelled like a used tire shop. You know, it certainly did smell like tires for a good 3 months when you exited the house. But other than that, you know, we're good. The smell has now dissipated completely. You don't smell the tire smell anymore. And so other than that, it's been great. But for the fact that we had those issues with the smell, I'd still give this a B+. Definitely not an A.
Okay, that was it for the outside projects. Now, the inside projects. What do we got? Got some good stuff in here.
Like this guy.
In BYOT number 5, yes, number 5, I showed you how to do a whitewash and chalk paint wash on a fireplace, and I really did absolutely love the look. Now, this is a very rudimentary video because I didn't even film me applying it to the fireplace originally because I wasn't a content creator at that point. But I love the look of it so much that I did an example of what I did to it on a separate piece of concrete block that somewhat matched the texture of what the original fireplace was, and I felt it was a good representation of what to expect. Believe it or not, I still love how this fireplace turned out. That whitewash/gray wash has lasted for 15 years. I still really like the look. Just, you know, hopefully less toys moving forward. In BYOT number 222, I showed you the fastest and easiest way to transform a room using vinyl wallpaper. Now, I'm a man that loves a good floral print, which is why I fell in love with this pattern, but I also wanted to dress it up with some wood accents in the room as well. At the time we transitioned my daughter into my office and then moved my son into this room, we wanted to give it a very unique feel within his space.
Now, when it comes to wallpaper, this wallpaper does look beautiful from afar, and it still looks good. It's very durable because it's vinyl, but for some reason the seams all slightly opened up across this whole wall, and not many people will actually notice it, but I certainly will because I installed it correctly, perfectly down those seams. But for some reason, maybe expansion contraction over the summer months and then cold, they've opened up about 1/16 of an inch. I can tell it bugs me, but not at the end of the world. The wood still looks good, but it doesn't look amazing with now our son's new bed here. We have a nice little loft bed here, but the wood doesn't match. So I might paint these and stain these to the same exact color as this to kind of blend in everything. Would be nice, but overall, I still like it, but B-, because those gaps.
At some point, I think I was just looking at Pinterest a little bit too long and realized that my front entryway needed a black walnut accent wall, which I don't know if it really did, but I certainly had this vision of my front entryway that was done in BYOT number 115. And as for our accent wall, oh my goodness, I still love this accent wall. We've had a lot of compliments over the years too. Compliments galore. Numerous people have said that they absolutely love this when they walk in, and so can't get any better than that. In BYOT number 113, I transformed my front entryway with a glass railing. Now I had this old rod railing system here that was original from the 1950s, which just didn't fit this space, which is why I brought in this brand new system from ViewRail that had this aluminum base, which we installed, and then installed these glass panels that were custom fit to this space. Now, some people see glass railings and just don't think that they are durable and will hold up over time, but this glass is tempered glass and it's extremely strong. Plus, the base that's built into the system is so secure that there is no way of the system coming loose over time.
Our beautiful glass railing still looks good, even with children that are ages 3 to 5. It's performed extremely well over the years. There's been a few, greasy fingers and so forth that we've had to clean, but seemingly the glass really doesn't get that dirty in the grand scheme of things. We do occasionally clean it, but really not that regularly. So it is impressive with the fact that it still looks this good. We've had to do a few protective measures. We do have a gate over there on the other side for kids that we can bring around and swoop to the other side. Doesn't look good. I'm really looking forward to removing that eventually one day, but as of right now with young kids, I do have to have that for even younger kids than my own kids. All in all, still very nice. I would change a couple minor things, but those are just minor things, so A-.
At points in my artistic endeavors, I just get an idea of a project and I just have to make it come to life. And this was one of those projects. I had envisioned a really cool barn door that I've never seen before, and this was a live edge barn door with a mirror. And I absolutely loved the concept. I love how this turned out. The only thing about it was the crack. Yep, nice large crack during the manufacturing process of this, which was BYOT 144.
Our beautiful live edge slab barn door. Now, I really do love how this thing turned out. Unfortunately, of course, our glass crack. Never got that fixed. It would be a really big pain to get that fixed to begin with this whole system, but yet I don't know what to do with it in terms of the crack itself. Maybe I'll just keep it the way it is, or eventually we'll try and fix it. But as of right now, I still love the look other than the crack. For that, I'll give this one a B, just because this would have gotten an A. An A for sure if it didn't have the crack, but because of the crack, B.
No matter what type of dwelling we're living in, we probably have some type of closet space. And our closet space in our hallway was certainly unsightly, but that's also with the fact that we didn't have a proper door installed as well. It was just thrown all together, and therefore I thought of a unique way of using a slat wall that can also double as adjustable shelves that could come in quite handy down the road. Plus, all the materials that were used to make the slat wall was made up of Douglas fir framing material. So it's very cheap, very DIY friendly. As long as you have some general carpentry skills, you could easily take on this project. And the most money that I spent on this project was the baskets themselves that went into it.
As for our closet hallway, I really do like the functionality that I presented here in this project, and this project themselves, as far as how it works beautifully. Just, it's very easy, as you can see, for a closet to get messy, and there's so much miscellaneous stuff in here that we just jam pack in here, and I really want to figure out a door for this space. But right now, this is what it looks like. It's jam packed with so many items, and I did buy all these nice baskets because I thought that'd be a nice way to encapsulate and enclose all of these items together. But when you actually fill them up, you know, it looks homey, but it is what it is. I still like the functionality of it, but yet I still obviously understand that it doesn't look perfect like it did in the video. So for that, B-.
In BYOT number 88, I removed my existing sinks and redid my glass countertop with epoxy. Now, this was the very first epoxy countertop I had ever done, and so there was definitely some learning from this, and I've done better versions of it since then, but this was my first attempt, which was a lot of fun, especially since it was on my own home, so I could dictate exactly how I wanted to utilize the coloring and pigment. The base white really brightened up the entire space and made this bathroom come alive again. But down the line in BYT number 106, I also decided to repaint the cabinetry as well. This was also the first time I had ever painted cabinetry, and I have done other better versions since then, but this was my first attempt, so nothing's perfect the very first time you do it. All that to say is that this certainly was an amazing transformation after everything was all said and done, but how has it held up over time?
Now, this bathroom certainly is being used and functioned differently than what I originally anticipated for, but that's because I didn't have kids when I remodeled this. As far as the cabinets themselves go, they've held up beautifully over all of what they've been through. They've been through so much, especially with my children, but yet the paint is still on there perfectly. I think there's very few areas that I've had any issues with, but how they've laid, it's so smooth still. They're not clean anymore thanks to my children, but yet they still look very, very nice and durable. Countertops, on the other hand, this is my first time doing epoxy countertops, and I really wish I did something differently with the veining structure. I know how to do it properly now, but this was my first go, and it looks good, just I certainly wouldn't do this type of veining. So for the cabinets themselves, I give that one a B+, these ones B-.
In BYT number 101, I decided to do a wall accent using a stencil, but I did it in a very unique way because I used a joint compound that's mainly used for drywall, and I incorporated that into the stencil first. Then after I applied that to the stencil, I just did that over and over and over again, which created this really unique brick look, which actually felt somewhat like real brick. It's not obviously real brick, especially in a interior element, but once you painted it, it had a very unique vibrance to it, although it was jet black. And I thought jet black was going to be a really cool accent to this room, but it wasn't. It was overwhelming. So eventually we painted it white.
This was the first accent wall that I did in this room, and I just love how simplistic this brick pattern was to create, especially with the fact that it just slightly raised because of that compound, and it just drastically makes a difference when you're thinking of just a normal stencil wall. I really wish I painted this white from the very get-go. The black was just too much. It was too black, but it was just my office, so that's all I was thinking about. The white certainly far superior than the black on this wall. For that, I give it a B+.
In BYOT number 178, I did one of my all-time favorite accent walls, and this is unlike any other accent wall I'd ever done before, but I had a vision for my daughter's bedroom, which we did change out from my office to her bedroom, thanks to our second child Luca, who showed up in 2023. With some simple MDF baseboards, I made this rainbow aesthetic which blended very nicely from color to color. Then I installed it right onto our wall with some hot glue and silicone and nailed it off in place once I had it dead center. This really did turn out so well, but my favorite portion about this project was just my daughter's reaction the moment she saw it for the first time. Still melts my heart to this day. For my daughter's accent wall here, I love how this turned out. And this accent wall is one of the items that I get the most compliments on our entire house. There's seldom items that I get commented on all the time. This is one of them, and it's so easy to do. Materials are cheap. This was pretty simplistic in terms of the skill set you need along with painting and so forth, but all in all, I love how this turned out. I give this one an A. In BYOT 233, I wanted to maximize my daughter's closet space. And that all started with the demo process because I opened up the entire wall cavity to get to the full height of this room and then truly re-envision this space with IKEA furniture. As we all know, IKEA furniture is on the cheaper side of things, but it's also really nice because there was multiple sizes to choose from, so I could pick and choose the systems that would fit this space the best. I maximized as much as I possibly could, and the kids helped me out through the process. This project truly was very DIY friendly and completely transformed our closet space into something much more desirable, but also much more functional. My daughter's closet space really turned out nice. I love how simple this was, especially with the fact that this was IKEA furniture that I assembled in this closet, and it just widened open all the space in it. Now, technically speaking, I did this in a day based upon how much time based upon how much time it took me to install this. Approximately 10 hours, I'd say, from demo to what this was in total. So it's really easy to get this overall look, even with a system that when you start with it, it doesn't look like much, but when you open it up and make it grander like this, it really makes a difference. It's not the best quality type stuff because it is IKEA, but very functional, looks good. I approve. B+. At some point, I got the wild idea of having hidden shelves built into my wall. Now that's because I wanted to bury magnets in my wall to have an extremely creative and fun way to display your Christmas and holiday cards over the seasons, but also have the easeability of removing those shelves when you want. This was all done in BYOT number 104, and because this is built into the wall itself, I do consider this part of this house, not just a woodworking project. This is obviously something that I had never done before and I have never seen done before, which is why everything was a trial and error process. I picked up these really strong pancake magnets and buried them inside my drywall with some glue and spackle. Now, once the spackle was dry, I then sanded them smooth, texture, paint, and all of a sudden those magnets disappear and you can install these shelves with cards with ease whenever you want. As you can see, it still works almost beautifully. I mean, in all honesty, I have been pleasantly surprised with how this has turned out over the years, and it might have marred up our wall just slightly, but other than that, it has worked out beautifully. So the magnets on some of them have come loose, but it's an easy just repair in terms of glue. But I'd say with those small factors, we could anticipate this was a B+. Yeah. In BYOT number 228 and 229, I completely transformed my master bathroom. Now, this is the only, and I do mean only, item in my house where I actually had previously remodeled it, but then 10 years later, I demoed it again to refurbish and remodel this space to my new preferences and, more importantly, my wife's liking. Now, there is a tremendous amount of work involved on this project, more specifically and mainly the tile, because I was doing full wall tile all the way down 2 walls basically, and then there was plumbing, electrical, fans, mirror, toilet, flooring, and of course cabinetry, but in the end I certainly loved the final transformation and just thought it was such a much more aesthetically pleasing room than what was there originally. Master bathroom that I have personally remodeled twice. Now this time on this go around, I absolutely love how it turned out. I've gotten so many compliments on it over the past few months. I don't know how long we've actually done this, but I think it's been close to a year for this being fully remodeled. But every single time someone sees it, they absolutely love the tile, all the accents and so forth. I wouldn't change a thing, so I would give this one certainly an A. Just like the exterior handrail, the interior handrail was requested by my wife when she was pregnant for the first time. I was happy to do it, but I also again wanted to make it unique and different that people haven't seen before. And in order to do so, I made a beautiful black American walnut railing from scratch. But I didn't think that was going to move the needle in terms of creativity, which is why I brought in some LEDs. These are motion censored LEDs, so every time that you go down the stairs, all of a sudden the light will turn on, which was a really nice aesthetic as well as use case for a railing, from my perspective. I brought in some powder-coated black steel brackets to finish off this entire system, and once finished off, I felt like the end-all be-all look of this product was gorgeous. Now this handrail, I actually really love and approve. Unfortunately, the LED light strip just doesn't last very long. The batteries, I started changing them out every month or so, but it only lasts so long. So with the fact that it doesn't last as long as I would hope, I give this one a B+. But other than that, I absolutely love how this looks as well as the finish. It's so smooth, it feels good every single time I use it. So keep that in mind. Throughout my life as a content creator, I was always trying to learn new skill sets, and at some point I became extremely interested in woodworking and of course got into the whole epoxy river table thing. But my take was to do a very unique epoxy river table floating shelf. I thought it was a cool idea. I wanted it, and since it is attached to one of my walls, I figured this is an appropriate one to include on the house improvement side of things. Now, I did apply a Rubio monocoat to this product, and I really absolutely loved how this product turned out, especially for the fact that this was one of the very first projects that I ever took on that incorporated wood and epoxy simultaneously. It was a bit of a challenge to install, but I certainly did love how it turned out. Within the last 10 years, at some point, I was very heavily interested in doing epoxy river tables, of course, just like a lot of content creators. This was really my first go at a larger scale version. I certainly really do like how it finished, and I still love the look. The only thing that I would really change with this product is the fact that when I installed this, I did these pins. Oh, hi. Yeah, I did these pins, and it just wobbles too much. So the wobble really downgrades this a bit, but I still really like the functionality of it. With that in mind, I give this one B-. B-. Isla, what would you give it? B-. B-? No, I'm right on. I'm a man that loves brick. More specifically, red exterior brick, but plenty of other bricks out there. However, I certainly did not like this brick that was on my downstairs fireplace, and so I went straight over it with a micro cement concrete product. Now I know a certain percentage of you are going to hate this look, and that's okay. I really did not enjoy this brick. It was just so old-fashioned, and this micro cement finish really did transform the space and just made it much more inviting, much lighter in the room. And we just didn't need a huge brick fireplace in a family room, especially since we've never used this family room fireplace ever in our lives. Now, the first cement coat on this brick didn't hide the grout lines as well as I was hoping for, so I did a second minor layer of the micro cement and then finished off with some more paint, and we were done. I did install a black and white epoxy river mantle, which did tie in nicely with the shelf that was right next to it, but you be the judge. Now, I know not a lot of people are super huge fans of going over brick, especially real brick, but in this circumstance, it just was a very ugly brick fireplace. And I really do like the overall aesthetic of how this turned out. It's not the end-all be-all perfect, but it really does complement the space much more than that unusually looking brick that was originally here. So I did install a mantle at some point as well, which I still think nicely complements this whole space between the black American walnut and the epoxy and the stark white fireplace. Win, win, win. For this one, I give it a B. B+. Yeah. In BYOT number 110, this shelf was technically a part of the couch. However, it was attached to the wall. It is probably one of the most simple projects that I've taken on, but certainly one of my favorites. I made this because we bought a brand new couch and we had this long stretch where we wanted to place cups and so forth without having to worry about them spilling thanks to Kona, and I wanted an easy way to access power in order to make sure that I was able to charge my computer at the same time while laying on the couch. I used the same micro cement that I applied to the fireplace just adjacent to it, and after it dried, I applied a clear coat over the top of it, installed a power cord system that was built into it that popped up whenever we needed to, and voila, a perfect couch shelf that had power. Now I know you can't see our couch shelf under here with all these stuffies here, but that is thanks to our children. However, this little shelf on the back side of our couch is so handy to have. It's crazy. This is one of my favorite projects of this entire house, even though someone might be covering this up as much as humanly possible with her stuffies. Yes. It's the fact that I have this electric unit in here has been so nice, and I'm able to pop it open whenever I want and then hide it from my pesky children whenever I need to, right? And for that, what should we give this one? For this one, should we give it an A?
Yeah.
A. For the longest time, we had a very rough looking laundry room, which did work but just not functionally sound, and it wasn't an enjoyable space, which is why my wife was pestering me about remodeling this for years, and I finally got an opportunity to do so in BYOT number 114. Now, I completely gutted this entire room first and started brand new again with a brand new coat of paint, and after paint, I wanted to create a very nice built-in unit that was made from scratch that fit the brand new washer and dryer perfectly. I made this straight up out of MDF and applied some Bondo to any of the areas that I penetrated it with some screws, but I also used wood glue and brackets along the way as well, just to make sure it was properly supported and would last for years. Now, I added a lot of other items to this room, such as shelving in multiple locations, but the final product certainly was a nice transformation and much appreciated by my wife, which I did surprise her with on this project.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Now, we can't forget our beautiful laundry room makeover, and this was a really nice way to actually utilize this space in a different fashion and a much more desirable look. I really think my wife still enjoys how I've laid out everything. She even gives me a nice little jar of all the things that she finds in my pockets. or that I find in my pockets that we put in here while we're doing all the laundry. As well as the fact that I'm sure most laundry rooms look somewhat like this, especially when you have two very young kids and you're basically doing laundry on a daily basis. So for this space, B plus. Over here too. One other laundry room project that I took on very early on the channel was in BYT number 45, which I did a DIY concrete countertop. Now this was the very first concrete countertop that I'd ever done, and it was basically just me being cheap because I didn't want to personally buy a countertop for this small little sink in the laundry room. I did apply a pigment to the concrete mix and then installed some rebar and managed to make it a very successful, very sturdy concrete countertop. Whether you like the look or not, that's of question. But it certainly did its job and did its job extremely well and fit nicely with the sink that I had. I certainly could have been kinder to this sink in past years, but this is just basically just our dump sink. So anything and everything that I don't want to get dirty throughout the house through all of my unique random projects are getting dumped or washed in here. And that means that the sink has certainly seen better days. The concrete itself has miraculously stayed intact and it hasn't degraded over time other than a few minor chips and so forth. I really don't like the fact that I applied epoxy to it, in all honesty. I don't think that was the best decision, but at the time I felt like it was the right one. With that being said, I still really like how this sink has functioned over the years. It's been useful. For that, a B for it being homemade. We finally made it to the garage, and with the garage, we might as well start with the garage door opener. In BYOT number 83, we installed 2 garage door openers from Chamberlain, and they might have had a number of steps, but they were quite straightforward and pretty simple to do as a beginner. Now, one thing that I did install prior to installing these garage doors was a white radiant barrier on the ceiling and then install these units. And I didn't install drywall because I wanted access above and access easily, which has come in extremely handy in past years. Our garage door openers. Now, there's not much to say other than they still work. They work beautifully. The only things I would note is, number one, the more impressive thing about that video was the fact that I installed this radiant barrier before I installed these, mainly just to clean up the space. And the nice thing about this is that I have had to get into these ceilings numerous times, and it was so easy to do because it was just a thin barrier that I was able to rip down versus a drywall where I'd have to completely remove it and repair it and be a lot bigger deal if I had done drywall versus just this. So keep that in mind. Also know that you don't need a camera in your garage. You really don't. I think I've used that once or twice and that was it. So keep that in mind. Save your money on that. B plus. Right around there. In BYT number 70, I installed an 880-pound garage hoist. Now this is a small electric garage hoist that I just installed right into my ceiling into 2 joists with 2 screws. That's it. As someone who works alone the vast majority of the time, it is extremely handy to have a helping hand if you don't also have to pay them or make sure you have them around at all times. So this just gives me the ability to move heavy materials when no one's around but myself. Certainly one of the easiest DIY projects that I've personally taken on the channel. And when it comes to our winch, this thing I absolutely love. Now, I don't use it very often, but when I do and when I need it, it is so extremely handy to have. All I have to do is plug it in, turn it on, and away we go. I've never had an issue with this feeling like it's gonna bust out of the joist. So it's extremely secure, and it's extremely secure based upon me using 2 screws. So that's quite impressive for a unit like this. Also, fun little caveat note is the fact that my daughter loves spending time with me in the garage, and in order to make it more entertaining, I got one of these. Basically, I compared it to an ice skater when they're in that little extreme spin mode. That's basically her at a certain point. But in any case, this guy, I give it I don't have zero complaints. Zero complaints. Hey.
I've taken on a number of garage makeovers, but my personal favorite is of course my own garage. And this garage makeover started with an epoxy floor. This concrete slab had been through the ringer over the years, and I wanted to make a very DIY friendly epoxy floor video, which means I didn't rent out any heavy equipment in order to abrade the concrete substrate, but I did apply a degreaser as well as an acid etch that comes with the kit. After our slab was fully cleaned off, I went around and made sure that all large holes were fully filled with an epoxy filler, and then we could get to installing our epoxy floor. Now this kit system was a very commonly found epoxy floor kit system from Rust-Oleum, which I applied a heavy coat of and then sprinkled in the chips that come with the kit. The only thing is that I also painted the exterior portion of our concrete slab as well, which certainly many people have questioned over the years.
Our epoxy garage floors. Now these garage floors, I've put them through the ringer. So much has happened in this garage, as you can imagine, but they've held up quite beautifully. Now, they're not gonna look perfect. They're not gonna be pristine, especially with what I put it through, but I've never seen a single moment where any of this epoxy peeled up off of the floor itself. That means that it adhered properly to our concrete substrate without any issues with delamination. That was the big deal with this area. Now, the one thing that I wanted to take note of is that this section is outside in the elements. This is not. And I got numerous questions as to like asking how this section has held up versus this. It's held up nicely. Again, no peeling whatsoever. It has degraded more vigorously, I would say, or it has changed color more than this area, but still nonetheless, no peeling, no delamination, and that's all you can ask for with an epoxy floor like this. For that, with the fact that it has held up quite nicely, but still doesn't look beautiful, I would say I'd give this a B. B sounds good.
With a video that's nearly cracking 2 hours long, I figured why not culminate this house review with the very first BYOT project that was ever taken on. BYOT number 1, which was this old slate floor that I painted over. Whether you like it or not, this is how it all started for me as a content creator, by helping someone out there learn how to paint their tile floor. And remember, all of these videos are still up on my YouTube channel, even this very first one, because it is certainly cringe-worthy, but it's important to put it out there because it not only reminds me of how far I have come as a content creator, but it also hopefully helps someone else know that, hey, Brent started here, but he's now there. Hopefully that gives someone else the confidence to try it out for themselves as well. In terms of the project at hand, I did paint over this floor a couple of different times, but it only lasted a year or so until the paint started degrading and it started looking just as bad as it probably did originally. So I decided to demo it all out in BYOT number 111 and put this micro cement coating over the floor. Now this is the same micro cement that I applied to the fireplace downstairs, and after I smoothed it out, sanded, and put a finish on it, it turned out quite beautiful and had a very nice aesthetic to it.
This floor right here is where it all started in BYOT number 1. Can't believe I'm still doing DIY videos 10 years later and 250 videos down now. I originally painted this tile, I painted it again in another video, and then finally I applied this concrete finish. And you know what? This concrete finish has held up so extremely well over the years. I'm even astonished by how well this has held up. There's a few scratches here and there, mainly because we have Kona with Mr. Nails over there. But other than that, there's been zero breakage, zero anything, chips whatsoever. This is lasted the test of time, and I still think it's a nice finish. Now, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it has worked. And you know what? I love a simple, cheap solution
for flooring, especially when we're doing a renovation. So for this one, especially for the nostalgia, I give this one an A. From the Google Map images alone, you can see how drastically this house has transformed over the last 15 years. And if you didn't believe me that this house is worth over $1 million, well, check out the price tag on Redfin. Now, it's not for sale, obviously, but that's what it's estimated to be at. And whether you think that it should be worth that or not, I have certainly put in a lot, and I do mean a lot, of sweat equity on this house. Countless hours have been spent remodeling this house, and probably close to $200,000 on just materials alone trying to renovate every single nook and cranny. Now that's also being mindful of all the projects that I took on even before I was a content creator. That means 5 years of working on this house, dumping tons of money into it just to get to a point where it's at least livable. Now I'm saying this all because I've grown as a person and as an individual, but also because I want to show everyone that if you don't know how to do something, be one of those individuals that has the mindset of not being afraid of taking on new endeavors. That has been my lifestyle over the past 15 years of just trying new things and not being afraid to take on new challenges, even if you have no idea how it's going to be accomplished in the future. Looking back, I truly want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to figuring out what my purpose is in life, and that is to teach others. Nothing gives me more pride and passion than helping others learn how to build, and I spent years on YouTube making extremely little profit. But in order to endure all those hard times, you have to be passionate about what you're doing in the first place. All that to say, I'm a very lucky man in so many ways, and there's one large thank you I have to say in order to wrap this entire video up. But who I have to truly thank? You, the audience. You have no idea how grateful I am, how amazing it's been, how much work it's been, but how much pride I have in what I do for a living. As someone who just hated their job for so long, but yet I get to do what I love for a living. And so much has happened over the last 10 years. I mean, I got married, we got a dog, I had a kid, I had another kid, COVID, all of a sudden transitioning my entire business, started up my own home remodeling business, had to throw that in the dumps because of COVID. Then all of a sudden, I got a chance to do what I love for a living, help others learn how to build. And now I'm doing other things. I'm helping people learn about new products. I'm teaching people, I'm presenting, and it's all because of this. It's all because of you. So if you ever have liked one of my videos, shared it, know that it means the absolute world to me. It really does. It's hard to get to this point, but just know that I'm so grateful for being able to do what I love for a living, thanks to you. So, till next time, we always appreciate, well, we just want to see what's up next, because we never know what's going to be next. Yeah. Yes. Say thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Those were certainly tears of joy and would have been a good way to end this video, but I have to keep good to my word because we have some very exciting news for BYOT.
You may have noticed that I haven't really been posting much on my BYOTools channel because there has been a lot going on over the last 6 months. If you saw my last video, you now know that we bought a cabin. Yes, a small beach cabin that I'm going to be completely transforming into something much more aesthetically pleasing. But the bigger news is that 6 months ago, my parents decided to break ground on a piece of property that they've owned for nearly 30 years. This is beautiful Lake Chelan in Eastern Washington, and I've been coming to Lake Chelan since I was 5, camping at the state park. Now, of course, it was only fitting that this project happened simultaneously with the family cabin purchase, but that's just how life is, and there has been so much going on, as you can see. I told my parents, if you're finally deciding to build this house, I'm going to record the entire thing to show everyone how a house is truly built on a grander scale. I'm obviously not personally building this house, but I still think it's going to be very fun and educational, along with a little bit more entertaining than the normal BYOT videos, just because it's going to show the successes, but also the frustrating nature of what it takes to build a home like this. Now I'm going to be featuring this project on a bi-weekly basis, but I want to know from you, the audience, and how you would like to see this content, because I'm still going to be doing things on the cabin build, but I'm still going to be posting about this video. So do we keep it on the same YouTube channel, or do we create a whole new BYOT YouTube channel? You be the judge. But no matter what the case is, just know that I am truly grateful for all of you beautiful, sexy beasts. Here's to another 10 years on YouTube. Oh yeah,